Welcome to the Pillar Podcast, a ministry of Pillar Seminary for contextual leadership. Our goal is to equip listeners to become better readers of Scripture and more skillful leaders in their local churches and ministries. If you would like to learn more about Pillar Seminary and sign up to receive exclusive content from Pillar's faculty, please visit pillarseminary.org.
I knew that was coming. Andrew wasn't looking. Hey guys, I'm Dan. Today on the podcast, we've got Scott, who is joining us to talk about a project that he is working on that's really exciting. We think could be really beneficial to you. With me today, I have Donnell, Andrew, and Susie also joining for our conversation. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here.
But did we land on Donnell's podcast name yet?
You know, I'm not sure if we have. Is it Bishop, Dr. Reverend?
Donnell, can I call you the Bish? Or is that not?
No, yeah, no, that sounds too much like other things.
Something else. He said it's okay, so.
And
all right.
I supposed to call Scott Dr. Booth?
Yeah, you are.
No, she's not a student anymore. Hair doctor.
Hair doctor.
Dr. Fotter.
Oh, man. Oh, that's great. So why don't we move on? We've established our the low bar of reverence that we tend to operate at or just under for the typical Pillar podcast. Scott, we normally, as you know, we're trying to start with what the problem is the podcast will solve in our little episode. But this is a bit different, and you're dealing with something quite a bit bigger than a podcast episode. Yeah. So give us the problem you're trying to solve, the need you're trying to meet with your product before we go too much further, will you?
Okay, so I think the way to describe the problem is there are a lot of people out there who want to live life with the Lord, and they want to walk that path with the Lord. And in that, there's lots of things that contribute to that. Like you have friends and wise counsel, prayer, spiritual disciplines, rituals, things that contribute to that. And for the Bible is a big one of those. And for a lot of people, big chunks of the Bible are difficult or not accessible. And so I want to help with that, so they can live the life that they're wanting to live with the Lord.
Susie, that's a question face. You were about to say something.
No, it's just people get saved and we hand them a Bible and say, all right, go read it. And it's a ancient text. And so I'm excited to hear how Scott is going to help in that. So can you give us more details?
Yes. You want the hows or like...
Well, what's it called? What is this thing called?
Yeah.
We're talking about.
It's called Footnote.
Yeah, let's start.
What is the object? What is the subject of the discussion?
Sorry.
Let's never name it. Never talk about it.
Yeah, it's called Footnote. It'll be starting to kind of trickle out at the end of July. We'll start mostly on socials, the TikToks and YouTubes and Facebooks
Nice.
and Instatubes, all the things is where it'll start. And we're in the process also of developing like more integrated stuff with an app and things like that. But
Nice.
the basics is that, like what Susie says, you become a Christian and then someone hands you a Bible and you don't know really what to do. So you kind of flounder around a little bit. But the thing that you want is like, you want to be near the Lord. Like that's a thing like, that exists. And you know how to pursue the relationships with people around you, right? And pursue friendships and praying together. And you do what you can, but that book, like it's kind of like, what do you do with that book? How do you incorporate that book into it? And there's a lot at Pillar that we do that focuses on that, like how to take that book and turn it into something that you can do. And some part of that is academic, but all of the parts that are not academic like shouldn't be sequestered behind academic walls. Like it should just be given to you. Like, you can just have it. So it's the things that we've learned, the stuff that we do at Pillar, and we're just, you can, here you go. Here's how you do things.
So what is not, like, what things aren't academic? What are some examples? What do you mean?
So like how to read a story, how to read
Gotcha.
a Bible story. Like that's not hard. Half of the stuff we do too, even on the academics, like the background stuff, sometimes it's like, you know, like creation stories, right? They can be super hard to read, but they're not hard to understand if someone just talks you through it or draws it. And now you can, you know, or if you just knew a little bit about their culture. And so in the academic setting, we read a bunch of articles, but or I could show you a video and then like, you know what I mean? Like there's other ways, more efficient ways to open that thing up so that you can live and grow the way you want and grow others. Yeah.
So a tool or a resource to be shared.
Oh yeah. So the really too, if the tool is good, if it works, you won't need the tool to like it will teach you how to do it well enough that you can just go talk about it in a coffee shop. You shouldn't be dependent on it.
Gotcha.
But you should at the same time, like in my head, like most of the people that I know of that fit that bill in churches that are like, I just want to live with the Lord and I want to do well and I want to raise my kids well. And I like most of the people that are like highly involved in that, my experience, are women. And so I sit and I look over at my wife at night sleeping and like she's got that Instagram thing flipping through, right? And it's like she shares stuff with me. But like, you know, in 10 minutes of just talking while I'm walking down the street, she and I can have a conversation where we can take like a Bible story or a creation story or a poem or whatever and turn it into how we're going to treat our kids in the morning. And I don't know why that has to be just professors. It's like, it's totally not just a professor skill. So I just want to give that out. People that are hungry for it.
So
Gotcha.
Footnote is a tool for us to be able to understand the Bible better. How did this idea come together, and what does Footnote actually look like?
Okay, so it came together. First, it started really with Pillar, and the experiences we have here, where we learned that we went through several phases of learning. We learned one, people they need the ability to do something, not just the information. So they just need the ability. And they need it modeled for them, and they need people to walk through it with them. Then we learned that if you just tell people things and they just learn information, they won't automatically go do it.
Yeah.
You have to like prompt and show people how to take the information that they learn and really push them to say, okay, now that you've learned what the Bible is saying, what are you going to do? And that's what people really want after all. Like there's a difference between people who want to understand the Bible and people who want to live the Bible, like live with the Lord. And I'm really not interested in people who just want to understand the Bible. I want to use the Bible as a tool to help people who want to live as the Lord calls them to. They just need some help with that. And it came about is some time in Pillar as we learned these things and we were developing ways to efficiently do this. And we were watching which students were successful and, you know, learning demographics really. Was approached by guys at Basil, one of whom is on the board at Pillar, saying, hey, look, start thinking about like how can we use technology to do these things. So fast forward now and still working on it. And the way it is going to look as an app is pretty simple. Imagine it's like Instagram, like plus, in the sense that like you're going to get some information. It's really lighthearted and easy. There's no big words. I don't need to walk you through theory, right? You just need to know like what the thing is. Then you can try it. Like, so if I say, hey, here's how you read a story, you're already really good at it. So go try it. And then you go try it. And then I say, hey, so you found out what that text is saying. So tomorrow, what are you going to do? Like tomorrow, pick a person Like, let's do this thing. Start doing this. And then over time, so you're telling them, like, here's the lens the Bible is telling you to look at your world through. And then you help them do that. And then over time, they just start leaving the lens on.
So when you're saying Instagram Plus, you don't mean image-based. You just mean small bits of things that you can kind of flip through.
I mean, yeah, well, most of it, I don't like reading, like, at all. Like, I hate it. So the more I can do in videos and, like, pictures, the better.
Okay.
I don't have the attention.
So there's a strong visual component to this.
Yeah. It's basically like when you're scrolling through Instagram Reels and you're learning something, or you find something funny and you send it off to somebody. So first, I'll just start releasing that stuff there, so you can just see walkthrough. I can tell you one of them if you want, and then you just see how it works, and then you can start playing with it. You can go do more and learn more things and open up. Basically, once you see that, like, what one small little story can do, and that you can do it, and you can even teach people how to do it, then, I mean, the next day you're going to change the way your family lives. Now you're improving people's lives. They're growing. They're walking with the Lord. It just is not that hard. You just need someone to help a little bit.
One thing I am kind of curious about is, so we've recently been talking with Dr. Moore for another podcast about the importance of the communal element of disciple making and being a disciple. And something like the thing I always, get freaked out about, and maybe it's just because I'm an old school kind of thinker, is like, this feels like a really individual thing, right? This is me learning how to read the Bible on my own. So I'm actually kind of curious, Dr. Moore, what your thoughts are on this kind of idea of a person with a website, or a person with an app, kind of learning the skill of Bible interpretation outside the context of a community.
Through the many years of trying to encourage newcomers to attend a Bible study, the reluctance to come has everything to do with lack of knowledge. And so I think what Scott is proposing, in one sense, could be go and learn something about the Bible so that you don't feel so inadequate when you meet or approach people or individuals to share your life. And it's easier to share your life with someone regarding Scripture when you have a basis or a story to tell. And I think that would be very useful if, in fact, a part of the instruction is this is not intended for you to live in isolation. Rather, it's intended to be an inspiration for you to go out and live in community with other people.
And so this would kind of knock some of the intimidation factor down, I guess, is what you're saying, that
I think
may embolden folks to be able to speak and think the lingo that may be pretty foreign to a new believer.
Yeah, I think so, because when I'm teaching a Bible lesson, regardless of what the lesson is, I see deer in the headlight looking back at me. But when I provide a life application hermeneutic of that story, then all of a sudden the light bulbs click on, oh, I understand what you're saying now. And then they can chime in and share their own experiences and encounters that relate to that text. So I think this may help free people up to experiment and to step out on their own faith and their own lived experiences with God as they practice living a life of faith in relationship with God on a daily basis.
It's like a bunch of little light bulbs in the app, just giving you
True,
little bites to get in. Yeah,
exactly. But I do have one question, Scott. What is Instagram?
I don't know. It's like,
I mean,
I'm
not.
You're
Hold
serious.
Hold on.
You're not.
I don't know what Instagram. I've heard the term.
you literally have an account.
Snapchat, Instagram.
yeah. Hold on, Donnell. I follow you on Instagram.
You've got grandkids, don't you?
No, I don't. I
I'm
may
looking this up right now. Hold on.
don't I don't have an Instagram account. You may find my wife. I don't know
Someone
what
made it
those
for
things
you.
are. I don't have one. Oh, if I'm on Instagram, it's because I was forced to get it because of
Yeah, it's
something that
true.
Dr.
You,
Lawrence is
you,
doing.
you got 58 followers, and I am not one of them. Apparently, I thought I was.
What is he posting? That's my
Zero
question.
post.
Oh,
Zero
zero
post.
posts. Okay.
He
See?
accidentally followed one person. It looks like there's you're following one. I'm gonna follow you,
Is he
Donnell.
following Dr. Washington?
I
That would
No,
expect
I
you
explain
was
to.
it.
following Leading with Lawrence.
Oh
It's
no, that's right.
one of my colleagues who's running for bishop, and so I'm following him, hoping others will attract. But I don't use the technology like
Well, I'm
that.
gonna
Mm.
follow him too.
The
Since it
point,
wasn't an
I think,
accidental follow, I'm
I feel
following
like
him
the,
too.
I feel like the point is well taken, though. Right, the technological threshold, I think, was the issue Donnell's trying to bring up. Right.
So, I want to say something to the community side too. I want to I believe that probably the most efficient path to really raise the bar and elevate the church is moms. Because if you can start getting moms to really like to not have a ceiling on growth, is like particularly on scripture, like that they can really do it, then they can
Yeah,
teach how to do it, and they're impacting their families, they're impacting their marriages, they already impact the church all over the
yep,
place. You start
yep.
if you grab moms and just really equip them, right? You're gonna move the needle huge, just
Mm.
a lot. So that in mind, moms talk and they talk about all kinds of stuff and they talk about stuff that helps their lives and stuff that makes it worse. And so if you can make something, and okay, and the other thing I say is as I've watched, my wife move around through churches as we've moved around different places, it is like a common thing that these moms are really active in these Bible studies and they have a lot of friends and they talk about the stuff that they're learning and they want more. But you kind of have this ceiling between like good Bible studies and then all of a sudden grad school. And that's just dumb. Especially that we would
Yeah.
keep the really like there's a ton in that's currently behind that grad school thing that just has no business being behind the grad school wall. So just
Mm.
take it out. And if you can
Mhm.
get it out, you're getting it to people who live in community already. And
Yeah.
it's just all you are, and this is why I like the name Footnote even, is you're really just a footnote to them changing and doing life better and growing their
Mm.
kids and yeah, that's
Oh,
So
why I
it's a
like it.
program for moms.
Essentially, if I do it right, in all seriousness, if I do
The
it
test.
right,
Yeah.
it won't. If you and I look at it, if you and I were to see it on a shelf, we would walk by it because, or at least a lot of people who are just hungry and just want to walk with the Lord and learn and like live life with the Lord. It should just be a signal in the sky to them, but just to that. If
I
I
don't think
don't,
Susie,
we.
basically, if I don't get moms to like really grow, to me, it's a failure.
guys, we have a mom trying to get a word in edgewise here, and we're not letting her. Go ahead, Susie.
well, one thing moms don't have is a lot of time as well. So how
Mm.
are you gearing Footnote to be beyond just like a devotional kind of thing to an actual um, study tool?
I think. Um, oh, you want me to show you?
Well, you
Well,
can show us, but it
Can I
will be
talk to you
hard
about
for
it?
our
Can I like
listeners.
give you an
Yes,
example?
yes.
that'd
How
be
far?
easier than showing, I think. Yeah,
No.
that'd
I
be
mean,
good
let me talk you through it. How much time do we have left?
though. As much as you want, man. Let's.
Okay.
Can you do it in 5 minutes?
Yeah, probably maybe like 7, but yeah.
I'll take
So
7. I'll allow
okay.
it.
So assume that the basic thing of you know little video clips. So Susie, in my head, to answer the question, this is the nighttime Instagram doom scrolling essentially, but it's one that if essentially when you're done with the result of doing it is you're set up for a better tomorrow, and one that you feel like you learned about the Lord, you learned about yourself, and you're going to be growing tomorrow as well. So here's here's an example of it. So Bible stories are kind of difficult to understand. A lot of them are anyway, which is weird because you're already really good at stories. And if you just take what you're already really good at and apply it to Bible, you'll actually go a long way. So, for example, my wife's telling me a story the other day. She's at the grocery store. She's there with all 5 kids. She's got all the way. She's unloading the cart and doing all the stuff, and realizes that someone has stolen her wallet out of her purse. She checked out. There's a long line of people forming behind her. She's rummaging, trying to find like a credit card or something. Okay, now listen. At that point, you're listening to a story and a ton of stuff has happened in your head. You know what's gone wrong. And you're waiting, and you know that as it goes wrong, things are going to keep getting bad. And you're waiting for something to happen to turn it around. Right? Mm-hmm. Some lady behind her says, I'll pay for this. Something. You have already mapped out the story. So a big chunk of Bible stories work the same way. Something's going to go wrong. Watch for it. And because and then the thing that goes wrong is bad. The thing that fixes it is right. And sometimes it's confusing though, because the things that you think are wrong aren't always the thing that the Lord says is wrong. And the things that you think fix things, sometimes the Lord doesn't agree. So these stories will point those things out to you. Because it'll say, hey, something went wrong, and you have to confront your own belief while the Lord's like, hey, the thing that you think fixes, that's not the thing that fixes. So here's a Bible example of that from one that you already know. All right, Good Samaritan, right?
Pop quiz, Susie.
Pop quiz, Susie. Right. So here's a simple example. Good Samaritan. Guy gets beat up, right? Left for dead on the side of the road. Someone comes along, helps him, leaves him off at a hotel to get better, right? That's our Good Samaritan thing, right? So what goes wrong is he gets beat up. What goes right is that somebody comes and helps him and leaves him there. Except that's not what Jesus said, strangely. Jesus tells a different story. When he talks about it, he tells the story really deliberately. He says he's beat up, he's left half dead on the side of the road. You're like, oh no, that's so bad. And it is bad. Then someone comes by. Well, the first one is a priest, I think. The priest comes by. He sees him, steps to the other side of the road. Then a Levite comes by. He sees him, and he steps to the other side of the road. A Samaritan comes by. He sees him, and he's filled with deep compassion. And he goes over to him, and he helps him. So the thing that helped in this scenario, the way Jesus, you can imagine hearing the story, Jesus is going to land on, but he had compassion. Now, once you know that, this guy's life is going to be okay. The difference is this, because the solution to the problem is not going and helping. The solution to the problem is compassion. Mm-hmm. There's a huge difference in the claim there, right? So you can run this in your life really fast. Tomorrow, think of someone in your life when there's a problem that comes up, that the solution isn't, I'm going to go help, I'm going to go fix it. But the solution, run it tomorrow or today. I will have compassion first. Just do it. I mean, if you can do that, think about marriage. Jiminy cricket. Think about how you're going to parent your kid, right? Think about how you teach your kid. I would teach my kid to go help. That's not what he taught. He just said, no, have compassion. Have deep compassion. The stuff afterward is guaranteed. Mm-hmm. That will now. So this is what I mean, Susie. You can do that in, what is that, 5 minutes? Mm-hmm. In that, you got method on how to do story reading, right? You think, geez, I actually can do this. And now you got a moment where you can say, oh, tomorrow, when I see a problem like this arise, particularly in someone else, let's say they're distraught, lead with compassion first. You can affect an entire family in 5 minutes. That's what I think. And all this stuff,
Scott,
yes, sir.
So what you're saying, to add to that grocery store story, is when the individual pulls out their debit or credit card, and then the cashier looks at them and says, and shakes their head as if it was declined, and the person that's waiting to get their groceries
That's right.
sees the flush look on the customer's face and says, "Hey, I got it."
That's right.
So in that moment, compassion took place quick, and then they did something almost simultaneously.
Right. And it
Yeah.
was compassion that leads them to act, right? And
Yes,
so
yes.
Jesus is really careful in his story not to say, "Oh, well, who is the neighbor here?" Well, the issue is how you act towards everybody. It is, but the root of how you act, he's pushing the compassion, this thing that prompts the mercy to come out. It's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah. And remember, he's answering the question of the lawyer trying to trick him about what love of God and neighbor is and
Yeah.
looks like. And it's a heart issue.
That's right.
What Jesus does all over the place too. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so I think, Susie, a ton of stuff that we do in class, you can do like that in short segments. And there's a lot inside of that short segment that's like backed with academic what's it, but who cares? Who cares? What's valuable is tell someone when you're listening to a story, if something goes wrong, wait for it to get fixed and realize the Lord might mess with you a bit because you think of things differently. There's a whole entire book now you can go and investigate and play with.
Yeah.
And tomorrow do things differently.
So, narrative is just one genre that we find in scriptures. So, how will Footnote address the different genres throughout in the future?
Yes. And in the future, it's yes. And I'm hoping to do some of the broader like community stuff. I don't know what that looks like. There's tech people that are working on it. I don't know. I also want to do the reverse, where eventually the goal of all of this is that you kind of keep these lenses on, right? The scripture is advocating that you see the world and interact with people a certain way. So another fun way to do this is to run scenarios in the world and then see what biblical responses to those can be. That's what Dr. Moore does on his side of the program. So that's like, I think this is all totally doable, where you can start to push on really impacting people's lives.
So Scott, you're referring to like other actors, and is it a team you got going? Who all's helping with this? Who's the we?
Well, there's a bunch of people actually. So there's people here in Nebraska. There's some in Florida. Fred in Florida is helping me out.
Nice.
Yay, Fred.
Student Fred.
Student Fred, he's from Nigeria to
Awesome.
London to Florida. Alan
Yeah.
Wong is helping me. He lives in Hong Kong. Ebony Taylor is helping me.
Nice.
She's a co-pastors at a church with her husband in Tennessee.
Okay.
And this is essentially the rubric. There are some people that are like helping on the tech side, and then there's some people that are helping on have I retreated into the academy again? So Ebony will talk to me on the phone and say, "That's great, Scott. Could you just say that like people say that?" I'm like, right. But yeah, the goal is Susie and her friends.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Well, not Susie, because Susie has a Master of Arts in Contextual Leadership.
Congratulations once more, Susie. Well done.
Thank you.
But her less educated friends.
Yes.
No.
Right.
I will say I didn't anticipate the fundamental change in the way I parent through this seminary education. And so I know that I'm anticipating good things with Footnote and helping moms feel more empowered and equipped to be the women that God has called them to be.
Yeah. Well, and then, hopefully it'll catch on and as a former pastor, I can say dudes need a lot of work and help too. So hopefully, more than just moms will catch the vision and
I still want to
see me
hear
feel
what
of this.
I still want to hear what Scott thinks his marketing strategy looks like for moms. Like, is he just
no
gonna like
strategy.
put it? Just buy a bunch of like Hallmark cards and like write the website
Nope.
inside or something.
No,
Like I
no.
don't know.
It's easy.
No.
You just make something that makes their lives better,
And then
and they'll do
then
it.
they do it.
Well, I'm just doing what my wife and like other people's wives are telling me to do. They're like, look, just shut up and just say something like quickly and succinctly and teach me how to do something and make my life better and more. I'm like, all right, well, let's do that. And yeah.
Well,
So website, I gotta say that, right? So it's
Is there?
Footnote.
Yeah. How do we find this?
So it's footnote.bible. It should be up by the time you guys hear this. And then there's Footnote will be on Instagram and the TikTubes and face views and stuff like that.
So it's
Nice.
footnote.bible.
Bible.
And Donnell can go and follow your account and start to, second follow there. Way to go, Donnell.
And so you're saying
you
that
can you can sign up on
Scott,
that website for like if you want to take part in like trials and help us develop the thing. That would be helpful.
Footnote.bible.
Footnote.bible.
So Scott,
Yes, sir.
I have heard and I have seen where people do prank jokes with the Instagram kind of sort of thing. Well, and the Snapchat and the Facebook. Well, this is what I was thinking. And, yesterday, Andrew played the devil's advocate. And today, it just popped into my spirit. I'm trying all I can not to laugh loud. But let me just say this, Scott. This poor woman is in the line, and she's digging through her purse and realizing someone is taking her wallet. You're laughing because I think you know where I'm going. And the person behind has compassion, and they say, I got it. And then the cashier takes their card and starts running and says,
Can't afford to pay for 5 kids.
you're declined.
Yeah.
And everyone goes home dejected.
How far does the compassion go before the third or fourth person in the
Don't
line?
ruin my point, Donnell.
Can I also say, I saw the moment in the podcast when that joke occurred to Donnell because he just kind of lit up and started giggling real quiet. So I knew something was coming because you kind of went from here to like a.
If you're worried about the salaries of Pillar Seminary employees at this point, I wouldn't blame you. The website is pillarseminary.org/give.
Oh man, yeah. Well, we should wrap it up. We've gone off the rails. Donnell can't breathe, and so I don't know. Do we call a doctor
right now? And Donnell's laughing at him. Donnell be in the back laughing at. Look at these guys.
Yeah.
So, and for those of you who are listening, I know you think that Donnell is an older gentleman, but he's actually 28. If you're not watching this video, so he's a real good older gentleman voice.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, we should probably pray
God.
so that we can sanctify our time and ask the Lord for forgiveness. But Scott, thanks a lot for your time. Thanks for all the work that you're doing on this app, and certainly all the wonderful time and investment and energy you put into the Pillar as well. I mean, you mentioned how this is kind of born out of your work here and the work that we do.
Yep.
And we're delighted to be a small part and to see how this thing proceeds. And I guess by the time it releases, you'll have a website up we can send people to and go visit ourselves.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like good.
Yeah. There's certain things administratively that I'm not very good at.
It sounded a little more contingent than we were.
So when they put me in charge of a nonprofit, they're like, a lot of the doing of it doesn't happen.
Well, hang in there. Keep up the good work. We appreciate it, buddy. So, Donnell, thanks. You can breathe now. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. It's good to have you in the regular podcast orbit here. Really
glad
happy
to be back and in the saddle. I really am. Yes.
Yep. And Susie, thanks for taking the reins there and guiding us through the conversation. And congrats again on your master's degree. Well
Thank you.
done, Andrew. Thanks for being here too. So I think that's it for now. We'll pick up with another topic at another time, but that's all for today. Thanks, guys.
Later.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Pillar Podcast, a ministry of Pillar Seminary for Contextual Leadership. Please visit us on the web at pillarseminary.org to find out more about our academic degree programs and non-credit learning opportunities. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and podcasting platforms. Thanks again for listening.